Man, this is actually insane. Tongfu have absolutely no map control anymore in the top lane or their woods, and you can see how aggressively Na'Vi are warding this now. There's not really a whole lot that Tongfu can do, I think, in terms of fighting right now. They've just simply given away too many kills. I mean, 24 kills in less than 18 minutes into the game. Dendi is going to be nigh unkillable for a while, so problems now lie for Tongfu. How do you recover at this point? You really have to defend your tier 2 mid especially. You don't want to give Na'Vi anything else because they can just as easily go for Roshan with their Chen and try to go into a more turtley style, because if you look at CS, the Gyro's sitting at 109 where the Spectre's at 68, and it's this far into the game. So yeah, Na'Vi looking really good.
Gyrocopter has finished his BKB, will be going with the Helm of the Dominator right afterwards, so Hvost definitely taking his time, in great shape. We switch over to the net worth. We can see he sits not just on top, but quite convincingly on top. Almost a full $2,000 ahead of Hao. And you know, at this stage of the game, once you get later, you'll see those gaps open up naturally. But 2,000 ahead for him at this stage. Not only has Dendi been playing amazing, Hvost has somehow been managing to find farm everywhere he looks. And look at the gold graph. You're talking 5 digits short of 20 minutes. 500 gold per minute lead generated so far. Much of it hooked out by Dendi.
I just want to say really quickly that the Ancienting Mirana has a Shadow Blade in phase at less than 19 minutes. He's 7-2-5, so Funnick has obviously had a spectacular performance as well. Tongfu are sitting in their jungle with 4, and then the Spectre's farming the safe lane. That's how you know a team is scared, when you're basically sitting all together and there's simply nothing you can do if you split up, because you know that Na'Vi have been playing aggressive this entire time, and here they go again.
Funnick right there under cover of the Shadow Blade, going to be running a little bit of reconnaissance work. Whoa, comes up just short. The arrow connects nonetheless. They are going to try to follow it up, but looks like, yeah, a little too worried about it. No, we're going to have a reinitiation. Kuro's down on the backside of it. And Dendi forced to withdraw. Tongfu finally finding a little bit of ground of their own. They're going to reinitiate. There's the Ice Path. Beautiful vacuum. Calldown's going to connect as well. Hvost there doing what damage he can. And Tongfu going to be forced to skitter away. Hvost tallies another kill. Now the hook. Moo gonna be dismembered, and mega kill streak for Dendi, continuing to do work. Bit of an awkward fight. Na'Vi kind of got pincered a bit there, re-engaged on from the back. They lost a couple, but end up getting 3 in return.
They're kind of flexing the power of Hvost now and how farmed he actually is. He even has a gem on him right now. And with the BKB, Tongfu's lineup simply don't have the physical damage to deal with him yet. The Spectre needs more items. Hao right now, he's saving up for the Relic. He's at 2,700, but until he gets that damage, it's not going to matter. Yeah, Hao going to be able to barely make it away, so nice for Tongfu. They're not even giving up any towers. Like, Na'Vi haven't lost a single tier 1, and it's 20 minutes into the game with also 38 kills.
Tough to take down a tier 1 whenever you got a Pudge running around your jungle the entire time. I don't think how long's it been since they actually crossed the river? It has been a long time. We're 20 minutes into this game, and at this point, really, Na'Vi just has all the pieces they need. Pudge just finished up his 4 staff, so he's going to have that extra bit of mobility. And of course, for a player like Dendi, loves those kind of items. He's going to be in his comfort zone. You've got the arc boots already up, but more importantly, the mechanism up on Puppey. And this is where they can start to just slow push. They can switch gears if they really want to and just try to free the map up for Hvost that way. But just knowing them and knowing Dendi, I would imagine, and Funnick for that matter, I would imagine they're going to want to keep playing the same style. Though for right now, we can see they are just kind of sitting back, hanging back at the moment. Dendi taking his time. He's got 2,200 health on the back of 14 stacks of Flesh Heap. And that's a scary thing. When we looked at him earlier, he only had 1 point in Flesh Heap. Now he has many more. We're going to have Hvost taking a look at Hao here in mid. Homing missile on the way. He's got a lot of help behind him. And Na'Vi going to send a little bit of personnel. But just Dendi, there's a hook. Ooh, comes up just short.
Now, Tongfu right now just sitting at their tier 2, just going, God, nobody get hooked, please, because as soon as that happens, it's going to be pretty much a lost fight. That's the problem, is like if somebody gets hooked on Tongfu, no one can help them except for maybe Moo. And if Moo goes in to help him, he doesn't have a 4-staff or anything, so he's also fully committed to that fight. And on their side of the map, they don't have their mech finished yet. King J does not have a mech, and it's 22 minutes in on a Darkseer. That is actually very, very slow considering how the game's been going. Of course, they've been fighting a lot too, and he's died 5 times.
Oh, another hook. This time, letting his best buddy, the Dark Troll Summoner, do the hard work. Controlled by Puppey, of course. Wandered him around behind the tower, netted down the Jakiro, and they're going to get a tier 2 because of it. Only 1 outer tier tower remains. Mirana, by the way, has picked up a gem, so any hope of vision for Tongfu, a forlorn one.
Tower is under attack.
This is the whole purpose of the lineup. You just assume map control. If you have to fall back on the gyrocopter to the late game, it's still going to be very, very potent against Tong Fu's lineup. And it is a little bit execution-based. Of course, you have to land the hooks, you have to land the arrows, but let's be honest, they've pretty much been landing them both the entire game.
Oh, yeah.
So they're looking really, really good here in game 1.
And Na'Vi going to hook up behind the creep wave, ready to lay into the last outer tier tower remaining. Looks like Tong Fu, they're going to react. They're going to do it slowly. Yeah, they're not even going to try. They're going to maybe try to trade. They do manage to bring one down. First tower down for Na'Vi at 22 minutes. But that's going to be the last outer tier tower down for Tong Fu at 23 minutes. And are they actually going to try to crack this? Darkseer on the other side has finished his mech, so there is an equalizer there. There's Kuro with the telekinesis. And the homing missile will connect. However, we actually got rocket flare. But there's a arrow. Shot, found no target. Tong Fu really just, how can they hope to cope with this? I mean, Sanqing's way out of position. Yeah, Na'Vi's just so far ahead right now, they can afford to kind of mess around here at the tier 3. One big hook could change this game. And hell, couldn't he just change it, could end it. Tong Fu playing so far back because they have to, and Havos has no problem sitting here using flat cannon to melt down the creeps. They've got the tier 3 down to half health. Arrow again going to be shot wide. But seriously, just look how far back they have to play just to be safe from all of the long-range potential of Na'Vi.
Yeah, normally you would say that Tong Fu's lineup is pretty good at turtling because you can walk up to the ramp and drop cogs, but if you do that, you run the risk of just getting blinked on by Rubik and dying to a hook. So you can't really even do that. Tong Fu are sitting so far back that they're not even in range of creeps right now. Looks like Sansheng goes forward, though.
There's a disruption, and they tried to hook off of it. Mu, though, connects with just the illusion. Missed opportunity there for Tong Fu. Dindy now up front, and he wants a hook, and he'll take tower shots to do it. King J found. Now they're going to make him engage through the wall. Here we go. Battle breaks out. Call down's going to whiff. Mu catches a post out, but that lifesteal doing the work they needed to do. And the rest of Tong Fu forced back again. Hal tried to initiate in. Now the hand of God going to be blown. And the hook splits the wickets. Dindy went fishing, came up with nothing. The arrow doesn't connect either. He's way up there. Homing missile will maybe catch out. He's moving quick, but Funnick jumping in. There's a disruption. Kuro grabs Mu. Sanqing taking right-click damage. Havos going to be able to melt one down with Rocket Barrage. Double kill for Funnick. 3 are down for Na'Vi, for Tong Fu. The mech's going to be off cooldown in 10 seconds. So no question, they're going to be able to hold this out and bring down a set of racks. No map control for Tong Fu, soon to be one dead lane with the death of these racks. There's the mech use. King J's there, might want to try something. Actually got caught out, got stunned out. And yeah, he's already down to half health. Here we go, TP's coming in. Hal might want to fight. King J eyeing it, they actually didn't get the melee racks. And Puppy sticking his nose out a bit. The Wildkin will pay the price. Na'Vi not abandoning the ship quite yet though. BKB's off cooldown at just 5 seconds for Havos. They may want to fight again. Dindy with 2,700 health after adding an Ogre Club to his inventory. He's working on that BKB. Mithril Hammer there as well, playing some man mode Dota, just wandering around in front of the tier 3s. And the arrow will connect on Mu. Rax goes down, Dindy can't get the shot. Ice Path locked him down anyways. A nice one, got 2 of them. Funnick, just look how aggressive they are. Just running back, hitting hook that time, came up short. They are in such control that they are the one dictating the pace and the positioning inside of Tong Fu's base.
It's the threat of a Pudge, man. When a Pudge gets ahead, it is possibly one of the scariest heroes to play against. 1,300 range on hook. You can't be anywhere near him. There's just nothing you can do about it. So when you walk into the base of Tong Fu, you see like a Jakiro, a Clockwork, a Darkseer, you think, man, that's some pretty good base defense. But the reality is, you can't get close.
Nope.
You can't get close to use any of those abilities. Ice Path is probably the only one that you could potentially use and not get punished for it. But then, like I said, Kuro, he's got a Blink Dagger. So Na'Vi, they're going to be able to get Roshan. Volts can actually solo it if he wants to. It would take a while, but he does have a Satanic now, and his farm is absolutely absurd. This is one of a very old style of strategies where it's kind of 4 protect 1, but it's 4 kill everyone, and the other guy just gets farm.
Pretty much how it's working out, too. Dindy has tallied 16 stacks on his flesh heap so far. An absolute monster of this game, quite obviously. A lot of the bit players, though, have really had such an impact. The synergy between these players, Funnick chaining up the arrows, and Kuro, the alley-oops, telekinesing them right into Dindy's hooks. I mean, that's the kind of thing that just defines this squad. And really, we're getting a first-class clinic on how to make teamwork work with a very hard-to-execute game plan. This has just been a great showing from them. Tong Fu, just about 20,000 gold down now and 20,000 experience. And yeah, this might be about their last chance. And even then, I mean, hell, the Radiance isn't even done on Spectre yet. Has not even completed it. Hook going to split the wickets again. Disruption going to catch one out. Ice Path is there. Evokes BKB's right out of it, though. Using that flat cannon to melt down the supports. Taking a lot of damage. I'm a little surprised Na'Vi didn't decide to take the Roshan before another Hook going to miss. Didn't decide to take Roshan before taking a run at this tier 2, or excuse me, this mid tier 3.
It is a safer choice, obviously. Like going for Roshan and then going mid, you could just send in Havost auto attack the tower, and if he dies once, you just save your BKB and Satanic for the second life, and you can probably just win the fight based on that. But do they really even need it? I mean, they're massively ahead. It would take a very, very bad mistake coming out of Na'Vi for them to lose the next engagement. And they can slow siege the tower. They can just walk up and do what they're doing right now. And eventually, Tong Fu is going to have to react in some way. Otherwise, they're just going to slowly lose their base. And they're smoked up, so they can't see for hooks. Like, they're not going to have any vision, so that's definitely a smart idea. But Dendi's still going to throw him anyway, because, as he would say, you miss every hook you don't throw.
Here we go, disruption to lead off, and the Force Staff gets him to the tail end of it. Tong Fu wants to engage out, and the wall and a hook on the Pudge. Vacuum misses, brought him out of it. Mu lost behind, Puppey gonna be cleaned up, and Kuro caught out as well. Tong Fu showing signs of life as Hal tallies a double kill. And the fight definitely going their way this time around. They needed that in the absolute worst way without some kind of a turnaround. Hook gonna find Banana. Jakiro once again suffering Dindy's wrath. There's a call down. Will catch Mu. The arrow, though, shot a smidgen off the mark. So even though Tong Fu, again, showing us a pulse, it might just be a death rattle. Dindy he doesn't care. It's fine. Tower damage. Glyph it, don't care. Brings down the tier 3. Putting that meat tenderizer through its paces. Mu walks up now. Yeah, finally the hook's missed. Now he'll look to re-engage. Walked up and noped right out. Now we're going to have Havost caught out, going to BKB through it. His damage output is good enough to sit in man mode. There's a disruption to try and save Mu. King J surrounding him. There's the heal. Havost, Force staffed out. And Hal trying to find a target. Looked at Havost, looked at Pudge. Good arrow going to lock down Mu. And the hook brings him back. Funnick trying to make a run. He's taking a lot of damage. Dismember on the Hal. They turn their attention to the carry, and down he goes. Dindy is indeed godlike. 36-13, wandering through the ice path, looking for another hook. Force staff's out, actually. Rare moment of Dindy not wanting a fight, but the end result gonna be the same nonetheless. Down goes the second melee racks, and GG! Na'Vi getting the job done, my friend. The net worth, 5 of the top 6 in net worth by the time the GG was called. All wearing the yellow and black. And they are on their feet here in Seattle. A standing ovation, well-deserved and well-earned, as Na'Vi takes a phenomenal game 1 on the back of an outstanding performance from their star, Dindy.
Yeah, ever since the hook started landing, they really just never stopped. There were a handful here and there, but the ones that really mattered, he landed every single time. Tong Fu, from about the 10-minute mark onward, they just didn't have any semblance of map control, even from the very beginning of the game. They went in, they tried to gank Dendy in middle lane. Funnick was there to land an arrow, and there was even a support coming in through Puppey. So they get the first blood, Dendy doesn't die, and then he just snowballs through then on out.
Well, the crowd's still electric here. But we got to throw it back to the desk. Don't worry, guys. Game 2 coming up for now. Let's throw it back to James and the crew and let them break it down.
Yeah, game 2 won't be far away, but what a game 1. Na'Vi, that's how you would intimidate your opponent in the upper bracket semifinals. You turn out with Pudge, straight out of the bat. You hit so many hooks. Unbelievable. It's like that's the analysis of the game.
I think that was pretty much the best Pudge game I have ever seen, and I've seen quite a few of Na'Vi now.
And they were just shaking. Like, they could just run away a lot of the times, and they would just try and do these fancy moves and just get hooked every single time. He had some help with the Troll Netter and a little bit of a team, but really it was just a Dendy show. And again, we see this Potom with the Quelling Blade. She just sits around mid and can just arrow them in case Wow, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's one of those skills. Like, I always feel that there's a couple of heroes that are particularly fun and good in terms of high risk, high reward, just because when they connect with their abilities, they make such a big difference in team fights. And two of them were in this game for Na'Vi. It's Pudge with the hook, and it's also Mirana with the arrow. You hit either one of those, it can change the whole kind of plan that the other team had in terms of how the team fight's going to go. So it's very scary to play against and also judge, and they did their best. Obviously, they did farm out well on the Spectre. Hal was playing it, I believe, unless I'm completely wrong, but wasn't enough.
Yeah, traditionally their lineup is pretty good for counter-initiating too. They can haunt in, they can clockwork hook in, they can vacuum into an ice path. They had so many things that could potentially stop a arrow initiate or hook initiate, but it just never really got to that point.
They just seemed rattled, and whenever their supports really showed, even at tier 2 towers, they would just get hooked by Dendi. I don't think Banana will ever greet Dendi again. I think he hates him. I would. I think I predicted the Pudge pick, by the way, just to toot my own horn, and I'm gonna do the easiest prediction of the tournament so far and say that Tongfu is gonna ban Pudge now, the same way we saw IG do last year. That was the recipe to success, just simply banning the Pudge.
I'm not convinced they're going to ban out Pudge. I think Na'Vi are happy with that one, and they're maybe come up with other ways to play.
I mean, it's always a possibility. When we're talking about Pudge in general, we look at Navi and we say, okay, this hero is really, really good. However, we check out his statistics. We talk about him being 77%. And maybe someone new to the game says, okay, this hero is super overpowered because we just saw how much he dominated. I just want to point out that the rest of the scene combined, all the other players that have played Pudge in pro tournaments have in total 42% win rate with Pudge. That means that you have to be really, really good to actually make this hero work. Is it a hard hero to play, Malk?
No, I find him very easy as well. I'd never get to solo mid.
What about you, Ben?
He's pretty difficult to play, I would say. I mean, they didn't even have a Bane set up like they do normally.
Yep.
Yeah, well, okay, you're asking me if it's hard to play Pudge. Well, it depends if you want to win or lose, either way. I find it easy to click spells, but the outcome's not always fantastic. We have to also mention Kurokai and Puppy. Both of them had over 20 assists, so even though, of course, there was a lot of fighting going on, the whole team was involved, and, you know, Havos, you could just say he had the time of his life in terms of the amount of freedom he had on the map, and just, you know, they could go aggressive. They went high ground without Aegis on him. They were very just comfortable, and it really showed how dominant they were in game one, and also how that's going to affect Tongfu, because I don't feel that you would expect that in a game one. Normally, when you come into a pro game as a professional team, you're like, right, this is what we know. This is our standard draft. And if we're better than the other team, which you would assume, you would always think you are, hopefully, you would say, okay, we'll win the standard game. You throw a Pudge in there, I still think, because we haven't seen Pudge enough with Na'Vi, it isn't really their standard game. Because if you hit the hooks, it can go great. If you don't, it's tricky, but maybe it is, since Bruno brought up the win ratio. Was it 77?
77%.
Yeah.
Not probably 78.
But I felt it was kind of risky by Na'Vi, but they are a bit
Well, you were here last year. You remember IG? They banned Pudge every game.
Yeah.
Well,
And as far as I recall, correct me if I'm wrong, IG won the tournament.
they kind of did, yeah. But you know what about that? If I was Tongfu right now, I wouldn't be too concerned. Of course, you lost, and you lost pretty bad. But this is one of the rare games where you say, we lost because of a hero. Pudge was clearly the reason why they lost. And Pudge forces you to play in a different way and when you play against them. So if now they do as you say and they ban Pudge, they can say, okay, we can still play it exactly the same game, but without the worry of this hero that can snowball crazily out of control. And I think that if Tongfu had the same lineup and they execute the same but without a hero as impactful as his Pudge, they can probably win.
Yeah, I think so too.
So, what do you think Tongfu should do going into game two?
Ban Pudge, first
Yeah?
of all. Play their game. It worked for them so far. Get another strength initiator mid. Get a Beastmaster or a DK mid.
I mean,
Give any other hero to. DK versus Pug is not a bad matchup for them.
I mean, to be honest, right? If I was captain of Tongfu, which is potential, you know, I've hung out with the guys. They like me. I like them. I'd let them pick Pudge, and I'd just pick Axe. and go mid. Would I win? Does Axe beat Pudge mid?
I don't.
Well,
I don't
yeah.
think so.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I think he would, depending on the counter helix, obviously. But I think Axe stands a fair chance against the Pudge mid.
Genius. This guy. Don't
Doesn't
ban-
matter. You don't really need to win your lane if you're Pudge. Pudge is designed to lose the lane. If you trade even, you still win. If you're 2 kills below, you still win as long as you get level 7.
As Bruno said, he just needs 7. You saw Dendy, he just walked up to top lane and made sure that Funnick had the time of his life on the top lane. Suddenly you have an off-lane Potom that is farming freely on the off-lane. You have a Spectre that has to go into his jungle and farm. I think it's all about getting the 7 and nothing else.
All right, so guys, we're getting ready to go into game number 2. A quick round of who's going to win and why, if you want to.
Tongfu is gonna win this one because they want to win.
Oh, last game they just weren't trying. Malk?
I'm gonna go with Tongfu simply because they ban Pudge, play their game, and Navi's like, yeah, we're overconfident now, and then Navi's gonna seal the entire thing up in game 3.
I think Na'Vi, if you ban out Pudge, you have Wisp, Batrider, plethora of other heroes that they could just crush with.
Yeah, and that's a great point as well, because just by playing it on the first round, if you really do rattle them to ban it out, you can get something potentially even more dangerous. So good points, guys. We'll see what happens. So let's go back to the hall for where game number 2 will start. It's AC and Draskell commentating. It's Na'Vi versus Tongfu. Tongfu need to win to have a chance to stay in the upper bracket and move on to the winners finals.
Na'Vi versus Tongfu.
And we're back for game number 2 of this best of 3. Na'Vi and Tongfu in the upper bracket semifinals. Draskell, tough to follow the act we saw in game number 1. And Tongfu, how do you begin to recover from that? Obviously, Tongfu experienced, talented at every position, but at the same time, how do you get over what just happened? There has to be an element of being rattled there.
Yeah, definitely. There's kind of a feeling for Tongfu, though, that they picked a lineup that works for them.
Right,
You know, I mean,
right.
there was nothing wrong with their lineup. Their game plan was solid. They just got picked apart by Dendy Pudge. And you know what? That happens to the best of us. And that's why, as Melk was saying, IG decided to ban it every single game. But we're actually going to see Tongfu not take it out. So Na'Vi, they have the opportunity to pick it up once again if they deem it necessary. But let's be honest, Tongfu's lineup last game was pretty darn safe.
Oh, yeah.
They have great counter initiation, like Merlini was saying. They had a good late game hero. They had a solid game plan. I don't think there's any reason to be upset over any of the picking strategy involved in the last game. I think just come into this with a clear head and say, you know what, our game plan is not flawed. We can avoid this from happening again, and we can just take game 2.
But we can already see Na'Vi foregoing the Pudge pick, not banned out in the first 2, so Tongfu might be scared of it, not that scared of it, but grabbing up the Chen and the Visage, 2 very solid core heroes. We saw some great play out of Puppey. You know, it's easy to get overshadowed whenever you have a Dendy Pudge on the map, but Puppey played phenomenal. He was there, his control was there, his micro was there. He wasn't needed quite as much as he might be in other matches just because of the standout performance coming out from Dendy, but now pairing the Chen up with the Visage, going to give them a lot of mid-game punch. In a lot of ways, they can build around that. You can build a team fight sort of a team around that if you want to do so, or you can just build a straight up push lineup around that if you want to do so. So the presence of both of those heroes on the map, so hard to deal with. Tongfu leading off with the Darkseer, no better core to get things going. We'll see what they want to pick up in second position. That's gonna be an anti-mage.
Well, the AM is definitely a bit of a risk this early on. When you show an AM, there's kind of this feeling of you don't necessarily want to fight that much mid-game because he needs a minimum of 2 items, right? You need the Battle Fury and you need the Manta Style. Treads, of course, on top of that, but everybody pretty much knows that. So when you pick those kind of heroes, it does show your hand pretty early. You don't really fight that much. You go for more of a split pushing style, and Na'Vi already have shown a Chen and a Visage, so it's very easily punishable from Na'Vi in my opinion, and Tongfu of course know what they're doing. I'm not saying that it's just a complete outdraft already, but when you have AM and they are banning out Alchemist too, which I think is really smart by them to stop Na'Vi from having an even better mid game, because that's the point in the game where Na'Vi is really going to want to try to apply pressure. We'll see what kind of hero they're actually going to decide to pick up if you're Na'Vi. But the Lifestealer is out, the Alchemist is out, the Weaver is out. Those are 3 heroes that actually give Anti-Mage reasonable amounts of trouble, and Tongfu also now are going to be taking out the Gyrocopter. So they realize the inherent weakness of picking the AM so early on, and they're doing a really nice job of compensating.
Oh, I totally agree. Getting rid of those heroes, one that's still available that will be up there for Na'Vi if they want to go with it, that would fit very well into this is, of course, the DK. You can run that hero mid, then still be able to grab a hero for a Vos moving forward. Tongfu, Grabbing the Anti-Mage out this early, like you said, you tip your hand. You know exactly what they're going to be up to. Yes, the lanes are still yet to take shape, but there's going to be a window of opportunity that Na'Vi can look to capitalize on with the Chin and the Visage pick. Maybe you pick up a DK just to give you that extra push power. If he has a decent start in mid, he's going to be able to contribute in a variety of ways. Then you can put Havos maybe even on a Spectre, a hero we've seen him excel at, that kind of a hero, and begin to run that kind of a lineup, run a 4-push, and then whenever a team fight breaks out, he can haunt in, and it's not a problem. So Na'Vi, like you said, very flexible in where they are. They actually take out the Enchantress here, so not wanting to see her on the board to counter the Chen.
Well, if you think about it, Chen is a jungler, of course. It's probably going to be defensive. Tong Fu picked the AM because they assume that Na'Vi are already going to be going safe lane. And in that sense, you know, you want to do it because the AM's going to get a free lane and he can just get to the Battle Fury Manta a little bit faster. And you can see right now, it's like they're thinking about it. Dendi wants it. Not sure if he's going to get it. Hopefully, you know, I think people in the audience want to see that. But still, haven't decided what Na'Vi is going to be picking for their mid or carry role just yet. But for Tong Fu, the AM is still really nice because they don't have anything to deal with it yet, at least between their supports. And they're actually going to pick up a Windrunner, so we'll see if that's going to be Funnick, or I know Dendi has actually played it as well, mid multiple times, but we haven't seen what Tong Fu are going to be fielding just yet for their mid.
Yeah, throughout the D2L Season 3, we saw Dendi play Windrunner a lot in mid, actually. And it was something he experimented with, and he really does excel at. That's a hero that really fits his playstyle. Again, we saw it with Pudge, and we see it every time he plays. He likes heroes that are playmakers, heroes that allow him to play a little wild, to play a little crazy, and just to try and put his individual skill on showcase. Windrunner with a Force Staff. Hell, last time I saw him play a Windrunner, he built a Blink Dagger and a Force Staff just to guarantee that every shackle was a 2-hero shackle. Tong Fu going to answer that pick with a Rubik. Still very wide open in what they want to do. But again, you know, with the Anti-Mage, more than likely just going to try to pick a well-rounded, what you would call kind of prototypical lineup, while Na'Vi still has a lot of options. They could pull out a lot of gimmicks. They could do a lot of things with what they've already shown us.
I'm just curious what path they're going to take, because right now, I mean, between the 3 heroes that they have for Na'Vi, they have on paper a good strategy against an Anti-Mage in terms of taking map control, but they don't necessarily have the heroes to kill him. So there's going to reach a point in the game where they're going to have to directly address him, and they haven't picked anything yet that really does that. Sure, Shackle is nice, and Familiar Stun is nice, but let's be honest, if you get Familiar Stuns on the AM, you're either have the sickest micro ever, or something else has gone horribly wrong. So still, going to see the next pick coming out from Na'Vi here. I still feel as Tong Fu's picks are still strong. I just want to know what the plan is for Na'Vi, because these heroes, they have a very specific set of goals during the early mid-game. Chen, you want to get towers, you want to get the map control. Visage is pretty much in the same boat, and he is kind of a hero you want to play aggressive with. You don't really want to sit on a Visage forever and not really do anything. He's very, very good lane versus lane, but since we already know that Na'Vi are probably not going to be laning directly against Tong Fu anyway because of the Chen, that he's not going to get the opportunities. So Dendi, he's going to get his hands on a puck, which is definitely really good against Tong Fu's lineup. You get your Blink Initiation. You get your ability to actually kill the AM, which they really needed, so we'll see if he actually goes for the max Waning Rift build. But all in all, really, really solid pick from Na'Vi.
Yeah, I really like that. Gives them the range, the initiation they very much needed to have to really fit into a Chin-centric lineup. Being able to get all of your guns forward is one thing. Being able to march down the lane and start whittling away at a tower is one thing. But in the end, you want the enemy to not just be able to sit back, get in position, then march back out at you. You want to make it difficult for them, if not terrifying for them, to show their face behind their own tower. Puck, just his presence can do that, just because of how powerful Coil is, how powerful Waning Rift is, and of course that reach once he does get the Blink Dagger. And Windrunner and Puck, I suspect, are going to be very, very active together on this map. That's a great duo to try and track down an Anti-Mage. Lead off with the Silence, then you have the Shackle, so on and so forth. Puck actually can pursue an Anti-Mage pretty effectively early on and even into the mid-game. Windrunner, of course, with her innate mobility that comes with Windrun, and if she does end up building, say, a Force Staff, they're going to be able to be a genuine threat to an Anti-Mage, which most of the time feels pretty much invincible. So Na'Vi so far has shown us a core 4 that is going to be able to accomplish a set number of goals. Tong Fu has to respond here, and really at this point, I feel like they just need some more punch. They've got a lot of utility. They've got a great late game carry. They've got Rubik and all that he gives you, and he is going to have some pretty good spells to steal. And of course, Darkseer, the team fight monster that he is. But as of right now, they're really lacking a bit in early to mid game damage. So that's going to be something I'm sure they want to shore up now.
Yeah, I think you're pretty much right on track with that. The one thing that kind of concerns me for Na'Vi is it's an Anti-Mage versus 4 intelligence heroes, right? So there's going to come a point where the puck is not really going to be that effective. The Windrunner is going to have to go at least somewhat a semi-carry build. I would actually like to see something like a CK from Na'Vi, because CK is incredibly strong against AM during the mid-game. It gives them another stun, and it gives them a capability to actually take these fights. And after seeing the DK from Tongfu, I still think it would